Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the University of Northern Colorado. Thank you for joining us for our third UNC Talk session of summer of 2016. I am Erwin Raimundo, and I'm the current graduate assistant for enrollment management and student access. I'm also currently enrolled in the Higher Education Student Affairs graduate program here at UNC. Tonight's UNC Talk session will focus in on first week on campus, for first week of class, and how to get involved. Let's go ahead and start with some introductions. Jerry, would you like to go ahead and get us started?
Sure. My name is Jerry. I am a second-year master's student, also in the Higher Education Student Affairs and Leadership program. I'm also the graduate assistant for the Office of Financial Aid.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy. I am a business finance major with a minor in computer information systems, and I am employed by Housing and Residential Education.
Hi, my name is Berenice. I'm a criminal justice major, and I'm a senior peer and student ambassador for financial aid.
Hey, my name is Lizzie. I am a junior acting major with a minor in dance and a minor in American Sign Language. I am from Cumming, Georgia, and I work as an orientation leader and as an RA in South Hall.
Hi. My name is Salome Opoku. I'm a business management major with a minor in economics, and I'm a scholarship peer counselor at the Office of Financial Aid.
Hi, my name is Victoria. I'm a junior acting and psychology double major. I also work for New Student Orientation on campus, and I'm from Austin, Texas.
Well, thank you all for joining us tonight and answering all these questions for our viewers out there. So let's go ahead and get started with a very easy question. Jerry, do you mind telling us about your first week at UNC?
Yes, so actually my first week at UNC, I was still commuting from outside of Denver, so it was a little bit unsettling, but as soon as I was able to move to Greeley, I felt much more comfortable. I really enjoyed my classes and felt like I adjusted very quickly.
My first week on campus felt a lot like summer camp. There's a lot of activities going on every night, and I was meeting a whole lot of new people, and I kind of forgot that classes were a thing. I attended them, but there wasn't a lot going on in them, and so it just felt like I was at an extended summer camp.
My first week, I moved in early for orientation because I attended the last one since I'm from here. And it was just pretty much finding out what UNC was, finding my classes, and all that fun stuff.
My first week was a little terrifying because I'm from Georgia, which there aren't a lot of students at UNC from Georgia, so I kind of came in not knowing anyone, and I was so scared. I remember coming here and being like, I don't know if I'm going to make friends, I don't know how it's going to work, and I remember freaking out when I moved into my hall because I was like, this is not going to work, and then by the end of my first week, I was like, wow, I feel like this is perfect.
My first week was pretty overwhelming. There was a lot of people everywhere, and I just felt like I was crowded, but after a while it got pretty easy to navigate the campus and stuff, and I started loving it here.
Yeah, I think my first week I was definitely super nervous like Lizzie, not knowing anybody coming from 15 hours away. But once I got involved and kind of went to the welcome events and went to classes and started talking to people, I instantly felt a lot more comfortable and knew it was the right place for me.
Thank you all for sharing a lot about your experience about your first week here on campus. What was your first impression of our campus here in Greeley? Jerry, do you want to go ahead and get us started?
Yes, sorry about that. So my first impression is I loved the campus. I think it's so beautiful. I love all of the trees. It's a lot larger than the undergraduate school that I went to, so I was a little bit overwhelmed at first, but I really liked how involved all of the students seemed to be and all of the campus events that were going on.
I got really excited when I first saw campus because I lived in President's Row, which is over on our central side of campus, and all of those buildings look like cottages. So I was like, I'm living in a cottage, and it was really exciting. And then as I explored campus a little bit more, I realized that I did not remember as much as I thought I did from orientation as far as where things were laid out on this campus. So I definitely needed to take some time to readjust and find where all of the buildings were again on campus.
My first impression was actually when I was little, since I'm actually from here. So when I was little, I thought the campus was huge. So when I first came here as my freshman year, I thought it was a little smaller than what I imagined. But when you're a kid, you like imagine everything's huge. But I still thought it was beautiful, and I love UNC.
My first impression was actually on my campus tour, and it was snowing, and I was like, what is this? I don't know what snow is. Like, we don't get snow where I live. And then when I came here for orientation, because I also did that late orientation in August, I was like, wow, it's actually hot in Colorado, and there's flowers, and I was like, wow, this is beautiful. I made the right choice.
Yeah, my first impression was when I came for orientation, and I thought it was gorgeous. Like, I heard a lot of stuff about UNC, like the smell and everything, but when I came here, I was like, no, it's not like that at all, and it's well kept, and I love all the buildings. It's just gorgeous here.
I think my first impression was also on my campus tour, and it was snowing, and being from Texas, I was like, wow, this is so pretty. I have to come here. But I also really felt that everyone I met was super friendly, and that kind of sold me on the school because I wanted to go to a school where I felt welcomed, and UNC made me feel that way.
No, I think I heard a lot of great values and characteristics of our UNC campus and our UNC community, so thank you again for sharing all of that. We're going to go ahead and get moving to our next question. It's similar to what I previously asked you, but what do you remember most about arriving on campus? Was it a sight, a smell possibly, an event, or a friend you made? Jerry, go ahead and get us started again.
Yes, so sticking with the snow theme, actually the first time I came to campus was for interviews, and it was dumping snow. I was staying in Sabin Hall since it was a 2-day interview process, and I remember trying to navigate my way to find the key to get checked into my room, and I felt really lost, and luckily there was a student right behind me, and so I kind of asked if they were there for the interview as well. And they did, and so although they were equally lost, we kind of navigated the process together, and we're still great friends today, so I always remember that.
When I first arrived to campus, I remember feeling scared that I was leaving my parents, but then I met my RA, and I talked to my RA, my resident assistant, and they made me feel really at ease, and they were able to show me to where my room was and get me all settled with filling out the room inventory. And then I was able to meet my roommate face to face, and it kind of put everything at ease for me because I was like, okay, I think I'll get along with this girl. I think we'll be able to live together pretty well.
What I remember the most is probably all the trees that there's here. You never really know how much trees there are really until you actually look at UNC, and it's like from the top floors of the dorms, you see all the trees. So I was like, wow, there's a lot of trees, and there's also a lot of squirrels. And I was like, oh my god, I've never been so close to squirrels. And so it was pretty cool.
I arrived on campus like the day before my orientation, so like I didn't know where anything was. I had done the campus tour like in the fall before that, but like I didn't remember anything. So I remember when I first arrived to campus, I just went for a walk, and I tried to get into Fraser Hall, which if any of you have not been in Fraser Hall, it is the most confusing building in the entire world. Like, you have to go outside sometimes to get to the same area on the same floor, like on a different area. And I just remember I got so lost, and I finally found this like upperclassmen music major, and I was like, where am I? Help me. It was so bad because I didn't know what to do. And that's like the one thing I remember from like that first day that I was like, I don't know what to do.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, the first thing I remember about arriving on campus was just that there was, like, it was kind of hectic because everybody was moving into their dorms. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like, who are all these people? And then there was, like, football players helping out. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm actually on a college campus right now. Like, it was just super cool, but it was hectic. That's what I remember.
My first time on campus, when I came to orientation, I had just road tripped here, and I got to orientation, and the acting majors had this Facebook group that we started kind of before school, so we would get to know each other a little bit. And so I got to orientation, and I was so nervous, and I was like, just look for someone that you know on the Facebook page, like, look for someone. And so I found this girl that was on the Facebook page, and I went up to her, and I was like, are you Abby? And then we started talking, and we were in the same orientation group, and we were really good friends since. So that really helped me feel a little more comfortable for orientation, which was awesome.
No, I can definitely relate with all of you about your experiences on campus, and I do agree with you, Bede, that our campus is very green. We do have a lot of curious squirrels. Jerry, I was at interview weekend with you, and it was snowing quite a bit. And navigating campus is quite complex and confusing, so that actually is a great segue into our next question. Our campus is split up between Central and West Campus, with the UC also being included. How did you all learn how to navigate such a wide campus? Jerry, go ahead and answer for us.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, it is a large campus, and it's quite a bit larger than my undergrad campus was. So the first thing that I did is find just where all my classes were, because I was like, if I know where my classes are, I'll be fine. And so then after a week, I knew where my classes were. I began kind of exploring, at least finding the library, the rec center, the UC. And then just after a couple of weeks, like, it seems large, but somehow you get it down, and then you're just able to find everything. So
I did something very similar. The day after I moved in, my roommate and a friend of mine, we all took our class schedules and walked around campus together to our different class buildings to find out where they were. And we actually, like, walked the route that we would take to classes from one building to the next on both our Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes and our Tuesday, Thursday classes. So it was really nice to get a feel for what the campus felt like, and then from there, if there was somewhere I needed to be in a building I wasn't familiar with, I would just ask around to see if anyone knew where it was and where I could go to find whatever office or classroom I was looking for.
So I had friends already coming here, so they kind of told me where to go, but not really. So I just kind of depended on maps. They really help, and they'll tell you where they at. And then once I got inside the buildings, I was like, I have no idea where my class is at. So I actually asked one of our, like, janitors, and she helped me out where my class was at, and I pulled out my phone and was like, help me, I'm late. So she was nice enough to help me.
Yeah, mine's a little similar. I went to the front desk in my residence hall. I lived in Web King, and I had, like, a map, and I just, like, put it down on the desk, and I was like, help. Like, I don't know where my classes are. I don't know. I'm supposed to get a parking pass from somewhere. I have no idea where this gray hall is. Can you, like, help me somehow? And, like, the front desk, the desk assistant, was so helpful and was just like, this is where you go, this is where you turn, and kind of drew on the map and circled my buildings. I was like, you're my hero.
Okay.
Yeah, just like everybody else has been saying, just walking around before classes start. My roommate and I had pretty much all the same classes, so we just walked around to each of the buildings and familiarized ourselves. Also, like, to ask people just like how everybody's saying. Usually everybody's, like, eager to help you, so if you just ask them, like, they're just so quick to help you out.
Honestly, I just tried to wing it. I kind of left, like, I would leave really early for my classes so I would know if, like, give myself time to find them. Because I was a little more familiar with Central since I had toured it so much, and that's where the majority of my classes were. But LAC-wise, which were on West Campus, I was kind of clueless. So I would leave early, kind of walk around the building and see what it looked like, and then try to follow people that knew that looked like what they were doing. So
No, I can definitely agree, and I think I'm a little bit of Vic and a little bit of Salome. I kind of tried to wing it my first week on campus, but I also wasn't afraid to be lost or anxious and nervous about being on a new campus. And the unique thing about UNC is anyone and everyone is more than willing to help you, so feel free to ask questions about where buildings are, where classrooms are, and we'll go ahead and point you in the right direction. Speaking of directions, Lizzie, this question's specifically for you. What is the boomerang?
Okay, so here at UNC, we have like a partnership with the Greeley Evans Transit where no matter what, if you use your student ID, you can get on the buses here in Greeley for free. But there's specifically the UNC boomerang, which means like there's a bus that goes from Michener Library, like right behind there in Candelaria, over to Gunter Hall on Central Campus. So like let's say you have two classes back to back and one of them's in Michener and one's in Gunter. And that's kind of a long distance, and sometimes in that 15 minutes you can't really make it. So there's this awesome bus system. So you just go on the bus, you show them your UNC ID, and they quite literally take you from one end of campus to the other, and you'll make your classes.
Thank you, Lizzie. So our next question is for all of you. Since your first week, what have you learned about our community on campus? Jerry, go ahead and get us started.
Yeah, so something that I was really excited about was how involved all of the students seemed to be here. So when I had gone to campus events before at my undergrad, sometimes I would show up and like nobody would be there, which was kind of disappointing. But when I came here, I just noticed that people are really involved. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of students, undergraduate and graduate and doctoral students, and they all seem like they're really involved in the campus, and it's a really great way to just meet people and learn more about the ways in which they're involved as well.
Something that really excites me about the community that we have here at UNC is that we have a lot of school spirit, but it's not always just around our athletic teams. We have some great athletic teams, but you'll also find those students that are passionate about our performing arts students and who are passionate about going to plays and dance shows on our campus. And so just finding those students that are really excited about all of the great things that UNC does in addition to our athletics has been really exciting to see, and all the people that are passionate about our academics as well.
Something I noticed about our community that there's always something to do, and not only that, all students are usually really friendly to each other. Like you'll go up to someone and be like, hey, like you going here? And like, yeah, we're going. And like most of the time you can go with them because you have someone to like meet all the time. And it's just great that way.
I've noticed our community is like super inclusive. So like, you know, if you haven't heard yet, we have these cultural centers on campus, which like are about certain identities and finding communities in which your identity is like a very prevalent part of who you are, and all students are welcome there. And like we just have a like great community where we always look out for each other. Our bears are always our bears. Wow, as bears, we're always like together. There's something so beautiful about the fact that there's like cheesily no bear left behind, I guess.
Yeah, I just noticed that everybody's like pretty chill on this campus. Like, it's not like such a huge campus that like you don't know nobody, but it's not like so small that like you know everybody. Like every day you see somebody that you usually see, and then some days like you see new people, and like everybody's just chill. They're all doing their own thing, but you don't feel like you're like a stranger or anything. Like I don't know, like how they were saying, like it's very inclusive, and you just feel like you're a part of a great community.
I was gonna say that, like, you know, you can be in classes and kind of see a familiar face every day, but you also kind of feel like you're constantly meeting new people. And what's beautiful is everyone is so friendly here, and everyone wants to meet new people, especially the first week and first semester of college. But you know, walking in the UC, you'll see a familiar face and be like, hey, I know you, kind of, but let's be friends. And so that's really great about our community.
I agree with all of you. It's a very inclusive community on campus, and it also includes in class and out of class. We're more than willing to make friends and go outside of the box and just welcome everyone. Lizzie, I agree with you. Our cultural centers are very unique to this campus and very inclusive, so thank you for sharing that. Our next question is a little bit more general, and it might ask you a little bit of personal experience and information, but do you all have any general or overall tips for students about to move into the residence halls or back to Greeley? Jerry?
Well, in my personal narrative, I never lived in the residence halls, but I would say for students moving to Greeley, I would really highly recommend to also get to know the surrounding Greeley area because I kind of just stayed on campus, and while, like I've mentioned before, there's lots of really great campus events, the city of Greeley is really amazing as well. There's tons of great restaurants, coffee shops. I would highly encourage everyone to attend the Friday Fest, which happens every Friday until like a couple weeks into September. But there's always great things going around, so I would definitely encourage you to explore Greeley as well.
For the folks that are moving into the residence halls, I would definitely be patient with the people that you're living with and kind of try and put aside any of the preconceived ideas that you're bringing with you, whether or not you've communicated with them via email or on social media, just because a lot of times that's not the entire person. And so definitely getting to know the individual outside of what their social media accounts might say about them, and be patient with them as you're all kind of maneuvering living together at the same time, because you've never lived with these people before and you're going to be spending a lot of time with them. So really take seriously the conversations that you have at the beginning of the year about what you prefer as far as like room temperature. Last year my roommate was from California and liked the room really warm all the time, but I like the room cold, and I wish we had kind of communicated that a little bit better at first. So just taking those beginning conversations pretty seriously and be honest about what you prefer and don't prefer about your space.
A tip that I have is probably looking at the housing website. There's a list of what not to bring and what you can bring, or like tips that you should bring. So that's a really good thing because you don't want to bring something that you're not supposed to have in the dorms, like candles. Like I never knew candles weren't allowed, and I had a candle until my roommate was like, "You can't have candles," and I was like, "Oh, I'll just go throw this away." So definitely looking at that list and see what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Amy. Like, take the first like floor meeting. Your RA is gonna do like a roommate contract between you and your roommate. Just like making sure y'all see eye to eye and like make compromises and figuring out how to live together, but be really specific. Like I remember as a freshman, I came home and found my roommate's friend who I did not know playing my guitar. And like, if you play an instrument, you know, I am very protective of my guitar. He is my baby, and I lost it because we didn't talk about that kind of stuff. But if that's something that you didn't think about, it might be something you want to think about. Also, there are welcome events, and your RAs will meet in the lobbies before them and say, "Hey, you want to go to like this bear welcome event that's happening today from like noon to 3? Sure, go." It's a great time not only to bond with your RA, who's going to be someone you go to for the rest of the semester, but also to bond with your roommates and the people you live with, because y'all are going to be living together for a year, whether you're roommates or just on the same floor.
A tip for, I don't know, like moving back to the dorms is, I guess I would say to not pack everything, especially if like you live in Colorado and like you can go back home and stuff, because I brought everything and I thought like I would use all of it. I think I only used like 2 pairs of shoes and I brought like 30 pairs. Like I had like coats and jackets and like all this unnecessary stuff. So I would just say, I mean, I need to take that advice too, because even now when I'm packing, I bring unnecessary things, but like just to really think about what you'll need in that moment and not to bring like your whole house with you.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely brought too many clothes. So really think about the essentials, but also just kind of getting out and being involved in your res hall is a really good thing. Like I know I lived in Web King, and some people would like leave their door open and it'd be like open for conversation so you could keep meeting people, and that's a really good thing instead of like staying in your dorm and watching Netflix, because then you're not going to get involved. And so yeah, just talking to as many people as you can in your res hall and trying to partake in some of the activities there that the RA has set up or something like that.
No, that's a lot. That's a lot that you all share. Yes, so I definitely hope that all of our viewers out there would take all of your advice and go ahead and make the moving in process a lot easier by maybe underpacking slightly instead of overpacking and having not enough space in the dorm. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next question. For our more seasoned panelists, which is probably all of you, what have you noticed about how you approach the start of every semester? Jerry?
Yes, well, I feel like I've been doing this for a while now, but every year when the school year is getting ready to start, I just am really intentional about the goals that I have for that year. So I think about what I wanted to do the year prior that maybe I didn't have the opportunity to do. And sometimes this is academic, but other times it is an event that I really wanted to go to that I didn't get to. Maybe I want to volunteer or try and get an internship in an office I'm really interested in. So I just try to be really intentional about specific goals that I want to have for that upcoming year, whether academic or outside of academics, and try to achieve those in the next year.
My first couple semesters, I always would buy my textbooks ahead of time, and since I've learned that I don't always use my textbook for every class, I've started waiting until the first week of schools when I get the syllabus and have that opportunity to hear what the professor says about a textbook. This happened once where I waited for a textbook last semester, and my professor said that even though on the textbook link on URSA he requested the most recent edition, that in class we could use any edition, and so I got the first edition of that textbook for a penny. And I am very happy that I did that and waited to see what the professor had to say about those textbooks. But other than that, I just make sure I have all of my supplies ready, so all of my notebooks and my binders all organized and ready to go. So that's something that I don't have to stress about when the year starts. And I can just kind of relax and know that I'm organized and ready to start the year strong.
I have the similar experience with Amy, but with my textbooks, I actually buy them ahead of time because I feel like I'd rather have a textbook than no textbook. And most of the time, like some classes, some websites run out of those textbooks, so like I'd rather get it super cheap than have to pay way more like overpriced for it. And at the same time, like I'll get my calendar set up already because I have like a desk calendar that I set everything out. And if I don't buy that ahead of time, I stress myself out because I'm like, well, I have like 1 week to get all this written down. So I just have it all set out. I have all my supplies like months earlier than I'm supposed to. So, yeah, I'll do that.
I'm also a huge calendar planner person, so I have an iPhone and a Mac, and I absolutely love the calendar feature. I've told all of my orientation students this summer that it's like basically my best friend because I have like different colors for everything, and it helps me stay really organized. And then what I do is like when I have assignments due in a class on a certain day, I like go in the notes and I add it and I set like a little alarm to remind myself like, oh, you have this assignment due in the next day. And like every semester I've gotten more precise on how I planned, because in the beginning I just went into freshman year like, oh, I'm gonna be fine, I don't need a planner, I don't need anything. And then I got there and I was like, I have so many due dates, I don't know when anything is due. And then I started using the UNC planner, and then I slowly but surely like edged into like a system that really worked for me, and every semester it changed a little bit. But I always say like be like ready to plan and have your dates down in something so you know when things are due.
Yeah, I mean, I would just have to agree with Bede and Lizzie. I'm like a planner. I love planning stuff. I like love my planners. Like I love cute planners, and I have like highlighters and like color-coded stuff. And even if you're not like that, and you're not like a planning person, I feel like just writing down like a list of things that you have to get done is even good enough. And like planning your financial aid stuff and like your budgeting and everything, so that even like if you don't stick to it completely, at least you have something written down for what you want to like accomplish and do and stuff. So planning is my #1 thing.
See, I'm not a huge planner, at least meticulously. I do write down my intentions and goals for the semester, and I always kind of have that in mind. But what I really like to do, and I wait for the syllabus and I read it through because every professor is going to give you their syllabus and their expectations, and some professors might have different expectations than others. So I try to just read that through and then make my plans based off of that, and really just at first try to participate in class, get to know the professor. That way you're building those relationships and doing better on your work.
I think that the take-homes from what you've all shared is basically organization and then maybe some goal setting. So Jerry, you basically said at the onset of your little introduction to this was that you like to set up goals for yourself at the beginning of the semester. So could you specifically answer for me how you got involved this year, because you mentioned that you wanted to get involved more on this campus. So Jerry, go ahead and answer that one for me, please.
Yes, so at the beginning of last year, I was kind of just going to my classes. Didn't really feel too connected to the campus, and that was a little hard for me. So I think the first thing we have it's called our HESL student organization, or HSO. So I began to get a little bit more involved in that. And then I also sought out an internship in the enrollment management and student access office, and that kind of just snowballed from there. It's not directly correlated to UNC campus, but I also started attending some professional conferences, but that was a good way for me to network with other professionals on the UNC campus, which later led to my internship with the new student orientation office over the summer. So I feel like sometimes it's a snowball effect. As soon as you kind of put yourself out there and get involved in one thing, it always just leads to more and more as you begin to meet people. So.
Thank you for sharing your personal narrative there, Jerry. I'm going to ask Salame and Vic to answer this next one. What is your favorite event to go to during the first few weeks of class?
That's a great question. I love going to the Taste of UNC. It's basically kind of like a carnival type thing. Not really, but it's like they set up tents everywhere on the Turner Green, I think. And there's like food. That was like the first time I tasted like these delicious fries. Like I think they call them the bear fries or something, but they're like so delicious, like crunchy, but like flaky and like soft. I don't know. So I love the Taste of UNC, and you just go around, meet a lot of people, and just get an idea of what like the community is like at UNC.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. That was my favorite Welcome Week event. Because, one, how could you pass up free food, which is pretty great, and it was good food. The fries were really good. And I have really awesome memories of going with some of my orientation group and just, like, trying to meet new people. And you kind of got to see West Campus as well, so that was really cool. But it was just one of those bigger events where there were a lot of people and you got to see the vibe of UNC a little bit.
So thank you for sharing that. For more information about Bear Welcome and how to sample those amazing bear fries that Salame was talking about, please look at the comments below in our live feed right now, and you can find some great information about some events going on. Bette and Liz, do you mind answering this? Things can get very hectic during the first week on campus. How did all of you manage to handle some stressful situations?
The way that I handled it was with my family. Since I'm from here, it was easy for me to just go home and be like, hey, like I'm having a stressful time. And my parents were they're really encouraging, and they're like, you're the first of the family, like it's gonna be stressful because we can't really help you, but they're there to support you. And also like remembering why I'm here. Like I came to college for a reason, and I think that kind of like helps me calm down and take a step back and realize like what I'm doing is a lot more than what I maybe could have, like my family could have accomplished. So that's
for me as an acting major, my first day of classes, I also had auditions, which was really stressful and terrifying because I had no idea what I was doing. I hadn't met the faculty yet, and I was like, this is just throwing myself out there. And that's how I handled the stressful situations, not only the first week, but going forward, is just throwing myself out there. You know, I got involved with an a work study job off campus. I work at the Union College Civic Center in downtown Greeley, and I got the job by just throwing myself out there at a job fair because I was like, I really like theater. Y'all are a theater, cool. And so no matter what the stressful situation is, even if it was like I did bad on a test or something about my class schedule was stressing me out, I just threw myself out there. I would go talk to my professors. I would do things that maybe made me a little bit uncomfortable, but in the end, putting myself out there and taking that risk always was what paid off in the end.
Thank you for that advice that you're sharing with our viewers out there tonight. I really found it very beneficial, and I'm sure our viewers will too. So this next question will focus in on our out-of-state students and their experience. I'm going to ask Lizzie and Victoria, since you are our only out-of-state panelists. This question basically says, many of our students are coming from out of state, especially with our orientation session next week. Can you offer some tips on handling some homesickness issues? Lizzie, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I came for the out-of-state orientation, I knew 2 people. So 2 people from my high school had also come to UNC, which is kind of bizarre because I'm a 24-hour drive away from here. So I was really scared, and once my mom left, I dropped my mom off at the airport, and I remember driving down the road, and I was listening to some music, and I see my mom like crying on the curb, and I just started bawling. It was like so hard because my mom is my best friend, and every time I started having those homesick feelings, like on the weekends, at first I didn't really find my friend group. I didn't find my close friend group that I'm still friends with until about a month into the school year. So that first month I was really homesick because I didn't have many people here. So what I did was when I had a really bad night, I would go to King Soopers, get groceries, and cook what my mom, like one of our favorite meals. We used to make like pasta and broccoli, and it was something my mom always cooked for me when I was sick or when I had a bad day, or it was something we always did. Like my household's kind of weird. We always like to, my mom and I love broccoli, so we try to find like creative ways to cook it. And so I would take that moment that I have with my mom, and I would like, if I'm really feeling down, I would do that, and it would make me happy. And it would give me this sense of home, but also like I'm on my own now, and I'm learning to deal with it. And while it was still hard, it didn't make it any easier. It still made me feel more at home here because that was what home was for me.
I think my first few weeks at school, I was a little distracted and excited to be in such a new place that I kind of forgot about homesickness, and then it settled in like mid-September, and it was really, really hard. And I think I called my mom every single day, and I was like, I want to come home, I want to come home. And she was like, no, you're here for a reason, you know, this is good. But I also was very fortunate to find a really supportive friend group right off the bat that we just clicked. And I would try to distract myself, like my friend group, we'd go hiking, we'd go out and do things, and a lot of my friend group was from out of state too, so we did get to bond over that, and so that really helped. And also just keeping in touch with my family all the time, Skyping my brother, but really just getting involved and focusing on my work, and the reason that I chose to come here did help alleviate my homesickness a little bit, and I knew that my family would always be there and they were always supporting me, so that was really helpful.
I agree. I'm not really an out-of-state student at all, but Greeley isn't really close to where I'm originally from. But making a home-cooked meal and communicating with loved ones back home and finding a close group of friends here on campus can definitely alleviate some of that pressure or feeling of being homesick. So thank you for sharing that. I really, really appreciate that. This next question is going to be for Amy. What is something that you were never told but you wish you had known ahead of time before your first day on campus?
I wasn't told that it's okay to not be friends with your roommates or your suite mates. So I came into campus thinking that I was going to be best friends with my roommate and best friends with all of the people who lived in my room, in my suite in President's Row. So like I said, I'm a business major, business finance. I was living with a vocal performance major, and there's a musical theater major and an acting major, both in my suite. And so they were very different personalities and very outgoing and extroverted, and I was kind of shy and introverted when I first came to campus, and I didn't really become friends with them. And that's okay. It's okay to not be best friends with your roommates, but we were able to live well together and we got along. But I don't really talk to them at all anymore. But I remember feeling those first couple of weeks like, what is wrong with me? Why aren't I best friends with the people I'm living with? And it took a conversation with my mom for her to be like, Amy, that's okay. They're not your group of people. You find your group of people. And I was fortunate to be able to do that. Also, buy cough medicine and like cold medicine right away, because if you get sick, the last thing you want to do is go get medicine. So like, come prepared with some cold medicine.
Yes, cold medicine for sure. On a college campus, living in close quarters in close proximity, you will get sick here on any campus, I should say. So thank you for sharing that. The next question will be for Salome. What kind of advice would you give a first-year student walking into their first class of their first semester?
I would say try not to be too nervous. I mean, there's a lot of people that are in your same boat, so don't think that like you stick out or anything like that. I would also say try to get to know your professor. I know a lot of people say that, like, before I came to college my freshman year, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, like, oh, like, what to expect your freshman year. So I was like, I don't know, everybody was like, go talk to your professor, go talk to your professor. But actually, it really does help to go and talk to your professors and get to know them. When they see you and they know who you are, even if they don't remember your name, but they'll recognize you, you have kind of like a step up, I guess. Like, it's just good that they get that connection with you. Also, if you don't know anybody in that class that you're walking to, like those classes, just to like sit by somebody. Don't exclude yourself from others. Like, try to sit next to people, and then like you can have a conversation with them and be like, oh, like, so like what's your major and stuff, and try to get to know people in that class. So that's something I would recommend.
Yes, definitely on your first few days in class, I wouldn't isolate yourself. I would actually use that time to make friends and get acclimated to the expectations of the classroom. But you also brought up a great point about introducing yourself to a faculty member. So Lizzie, I'm going to ask you this question. How would you approach a faculty member, whether it's to introduce yourself or if you have a problem in the class or you're not understanding something on the syllabus?
So I always introduce myself the first day of class. Well, at least I try to. There have been a few times I haven't when it's like a big lecture hall and it's really stressful to do so, but I normally just go up and I'm like, hey, I'm Lizzie. I'm really excited to take your class. I'm really looking forward to this. Or just like being transparent and saying like, I am really bad at this subject that you're teaching and I might need some help. Because I feel like with professors and with faculty, they care about you. So if you put yourself on the table and you say like, look, I'm worried and I'm excited and I'm going to try my best and I just want to let you know that I might come to you for help, your faculty member is going to be like, cool, I'm going to remember you, you know? Like having that open door policy of like, hey, this is how I'm going to be. I want to get to know you and I know that you really do care, because UNC is really beautiful in the fact that our faculty aren't just here to teach. They're here because they care about our students. They care about the campus. It's not just like, oh, I have to go teach another class. No, it's, I want to be here. So like, show them you want to be there too.
Thank you, Lizzie. So this next question will be for my great friend, Jer Bear. We take classes a lot together. So could you tell me what office hours are and what they're used for?
Yes, so getting to know your professors, office hours are a great way to do so. Sometimes, especially, well, in my program, classes are pretty small, so usually we don't have a problem talking to our professors after or before class. But if you do have some of those larger lecture hall classes, you might not have that opportunity. So always feel free to send your professor a professional email if you need to set up a time outside of office hours. But otherwise, their office hours should be listed right on their syllabus. And then you can go by if you have any questions over your assignments, or especially when you get into your program, I use office hours now just to kind of network and get to know my professors, because they're in the field that I want to be in. So they're going to be really great people to know down the road to write you a resume.
So Jerry, are you saying you use office hours to share your personal narrative with your professor?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, Erwin.
Just checking, just checking. All right, so we have time for one last question. I'm going to ask Bere to answer this one because you mentioned that you like having your textbook ahead of time. Where do you buy or rent your textbooks from?
I get them from Amazon or Chegg. Usually I like to stick to 2 or 3 sites just because I rent a lot of my books, so like I can't do multiple websites and like remember this goes to here and this goes to here because they'll email you, but then at the same time like you have to be on top of it. So Amazon's really great. You can compare them. Chegg's really great. I know there's some sites where you can see like you can compare them, or even the bookstore. Sometimes the bookstore might be cheaper than anything else.
Yes, I think our UNC bookstore is now matching online prices as well. So thank you, Bette, for sharing all that great information. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I would like to personally thank all of our panelists for providing their personal narrative to our audience tonight. Once again, thank you. We will be hosting another UNC Talk session on August 30th from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and that topic will be student employment and career services. So feel free to check that one out. And once again, thank you for joining us, and go Bears.